They are the picture. That's what the four horsemen are, the four sore judgments that God is going to send to Jerusalem. Now, Lamentations chapter 3. You remember a while ago when I mentioned something that was in the book of Lamentations. I saw this and I'm going, I think I understand this. The casket symbol, the grave symbol, is all about something that's dead, and it's going to be resurrected at the lion's paw, the number 5. It's going to be pulled out of the pit, the grave, and it's going to be released. That's this fourth kingdom coming on, the four sore judgments. Something in man's DNA. Right now, the DNA is rolled up, and the base pairs are sealed inside of that. But one of these days, that prison is going to be opened. The seals are going to be loosed, and something's going to come out of that. In the book of Lamentations, chapter 3, we get a picture of what that is. Are you ready for this? Look at the language of the King James Bible. He hath set me in dark places as they that be dead of old. So he is in a dark place. He is in the grave. He hath hedged me about that I cannot get out. He hath made my chain heavy. Also when I cry and shout, he shutteth out my prayer. He hath enclosed my ways with hewn stone. He hath made my paths crooked. He was unto me as a bear lying in wait, and as a lion in secret places. He hath turned aside my ways, and pulled me in pieces. He hath made me desolate. He hath bent his bow, and set me as a mark for the arrow. Wow. I looked at this, and I'm going, okay, they that be dead of old, the dead man's bones. This beast was dead. He had a deadly wound, and now that wound is going to be healed in the last days. He's got a chain on him that's heavy. What happens to Satan in the 1,000 years? He's wrapped in a chain, thrown in. What happened to the evil angels that mated with human women, that left their first state and went after strange flesh? They're bound in chains of darkness, reserved unto the time of judgment. And they have a king over them, the king of the bottomless pit. He's in chains. Chains have links. Have you ever seen DNA? It's what it looks like. Then he says, he hath enclosed my ways with hewn stone. You know what DNA is? It's crystal. It's a stone. He hath made my paths crooked. You know, in the King James Bible, the word crooked is like what serpents are. You ever seen those two entwined serpents? DNA. And he said, he hath set me as a mark for the arrow. Remember the quiver? It's an open sepulcher. And here we have the mark. And the mark represents something that is dead of old, that's bound inside of a prison, wrapped in a heavy chain, sealed in with the stones, crystal stones, in a crooked path. And one of these days, that's all going to be opened. And he's going to be let out. I think that is absolutely amazing. So I think when this happens, this fourth kingdom comes with their power of the grave, mingles themselves with the seed of men. Romans chapter 7, verse 6. Here's what Paul called him. Paul knew that he was in there. He called him no good thing. If then I do that which I would not, I consent unto the law that it is good. Now then, it is no more I that do it, but sin that dwelleth in me. For I know that in me, that is, in my flesh, dwelleth no good thing. For to will is present with me, but how to perform that which is good I find not. Now if I do that I would not, it is no more I that do it, but sin that dwelleth in me. Look at what he said here. He said, sin dwelleth in me, no good thing dwelleth in me, sin dwelleth in me, and he said it's in my flesh, it's in my 46 chromosomes, it's in my DNA, it's dwelling in there. And Paul said, I don't like it. I don't like it. My flesh does things I don't want to do anymore. And for a born-again Christian, this is the conflict that you and I are dealing with. This is the warfare that you and I are supposed to stand against right now. We're to be against the no good thing that's in our flesh. It's there. And so I want to show you this. The whole idea of them mingling themselves with the seed of men, I believe, has everything to do with man's immortality. Remember when Lucifer, the serpent, spoke with his open sepulchral throat the words of death into Eve. He spoke these 46 words in our King James Bible, and he spoke death into her, and he seeded that in her. But he promised her, "Ye shall not surely die." So, I mean, what's going on all around us here? What is going on? They are working feverishly on trying to make men and women immortal. Ray Kurzweil, Time Magazine, says 2045, the year man becomes immortal. Literally, a god, because gods don't die. And so that's what's being worked on right now. The powers of these principalities and powers and rulers of that spirit of the Antichrist, the fourth kingdom, is already at work right now, trying to get into man's DNA to make him live forever. Just recently, Google, who owns billions and billions of dollars in resources, they have money, buddy, okay? They're getting their hands into everything. Here is Time Magazine. The cover of Time Magazine says, "Can Google solve death?" The search giant is launching a venture to extend the human lifespan. That would be crazy if it weren't Google. Here is the article. Now Google wants to tackle death. Internet giant backs company seeking the fountain of youth. And here's what's going to happen. Google is getting behind a company, and it has an interesting name. And I had to do a little research to find out why it has this name, and I went, I get it. I understand this. All right? You're going to see this number here in a minute. Google is investing in backing a company that is looking to alter the human genetic structure to solve the problem of death. What they're going to do is they're going to get involved with the 4 base pairs and alter man's genome so that he doesn't die. So go back to this article here. Google wants to tackle death. Internet giant backs company seeking the fountain of youth. Here's the name of the company. Calico. And the first time I looked at that and I went, because, you know, if you go back, I don't know, several years in Americana, you'll see companies like the Chicago Carburetor Company. Well, that pretty much told you what they did. They were in Chicago, and what did they do? They worked on carburetors. Okay, there was actually an ad I saw in an old magazine, the Chicago Carburetor Company. That's why it sticks in my mind. But back then, companies used to be named after what? Nabisco? You know what that is? The National Biscuit Company. What did they do? They made biscuits. They made bread, shortbreads. They made cookies. That's what they did. The National Biscuit Company. Companies don't call themselves that anymore. They call themselves Google and Calico. And I'm going, Calico, I've heard that. What is that? You ever hear of a calico horse or a calico hat? Calico hat. A cat in a hat. You know why it's called a calico? It has something to do with these, I don't know, these cloth that came out of India that was multicolored. Different colors. Actually, if you look at Google's logo, blue, red, yellow, and green. 4 colors. Calico cats have 4 colors. Very similar to the 4 horsemen. Okay, the colors are, by the way. So you think about that. And then they mentioned, like the fountain of youth. That is the Holy Grail, or the Philosopher's Stone. Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone was all about seeking immortality, finding a way to live forever. Alchemy was sought to produce the alchemist Philosopher's Stone, a secret that we can't find out, but we have to solve the problem so we can recoagulate a new world order. And man now, because he's got mingled seed, remember Baphomet, he's mingled with the seed of men, giving man a pseudo-immortality, promising life. Actually, what they're going to see when men play God, we're not good at it. Men are going to try to bring, with the help of this fourth kingdom, try to bring immortality to mankind. It's going to bring death. I promise you, it's going to bring death to mankind. Genesis chapter 3, when the devil spoke to Eve and promised her, "You shall not surely die, you shall be as gods." What did God do right then? He took Adam and Eve and set them out of the Garden of Eden and put an angel, a cherubim there with a flaming sword, facing in 4 directions to protect the way of what? The tree of life. What the devil promised of life was death. And God meant business. So he took Adam and Eve out of the Garden of Eden. And sure enough, in the very day that Adam ate the fruit, he died. You say, well, he didn't die that day. Oh, yeah, he did. You have to define the day how God defines it. Day with the Lord says 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is one day. A day in thy sight are as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years are as but yesterday. That's what David said in the Psalms. So how old did Adam live? I like doing this. In Genesis chapter 5, because as in Adam all die, so we have in Genesis 5, this is the book of the generations of Adam. In the day that God created man, in the likeness of God made he him. And Adam lived, it's the book of generations. It's the book of genetics, genes, DNA. So this flesh DNA, Adam lived 130 years and begat a son in his own likeness. In verse 5 it says, all the days that Adam lived were 930 years, and he died. So he died within a day, 1,000 years. He died exactly how God said he was going to die, in the day. Nobody lived to be 1,000 years old. Methuselah, 969. Boy, he came close, didn't he? Like 31 years away, he could have beat God. But God said, no, I made a promise. And in the day that ye ate thereof, ye shall surely die. And nobody lived to be 1,000 years old. So this is the book of the generations of Adam, the book of the genetics of Adam. And then as in Adam, all die. And Adam lived 930 years. What am I getting at? You know what the 930th chapter of the Bible is? It's Matthew chapter 1. Now we have a different book. It's not the book of the generation of Adam. The book of the generation of Jesus Christ, the son of David, the son of Abraham. Isn't that beautiful? That's amazing to me. 930th chapter, the day that, in the year that Adam died, now we have Christ, the second Adam, who is from above, who gives eternal life. I absolutely love that. Let me throw another story in here, and I'm almost done for today. A new programming language to build synthetic DNA. Look at a picture of what they're planning. A programming language, like computers programming in binary code, zeros and ones. They're going to be able to program the 4 base pairs, adenine, guanine, cytosine, and thymine, so that they can learn how to rewrite the book that God wrote. And they're going to focus on the 4. I'm telling you, we are getting dangerously close to the day that the 4th kingdom and the book being opened so that they can mingle themselves with the seed of men. We're getting dangerously close to that. Now, I'm going to close with this. This is all promising